I hadn't missed a Sunday dinner in over a decade. Not once. Not for food poisoning. Not during hurricane season. Not even that year. I sprained my ankle in 3 places and still managed to limp in with a peach cobbler. I was always the one who showed up on time with something hot in hand, which made me essential. My name is Diane Caldwell. I'm 36, a senior analyst at a firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Everyone at work knows me as the one who gets things done. My parents, Helen and Ray Caldwell, always called me the responsible one. Diane could balance a budget before she could ride a bike, my mom liked to say at church potlucks. My older brother, he was charming. He's got a gift with people, they'd say while I made spreadsheets and fixed the Wi-Fi. That Sunday, I drove out to my parents' home in Mint Hill with a full tray of baked ziti extra mozzarella no ricotta. My dad hated ricotta. The dish was still warm, balanced on a towel in the passenger seat. Garlic and oregano made the whole car smell like comfort. Their porch light was on when I pulled in. The soft yellow glow always reminded me of when I was a kid, riding home in the back seat half asleep and waking up just as my dad turned into the driveway. I remember that light, meaning you're home. I parked in the street, like always. My brother Todd got the driveway spot. He's got a bad back, Mom always said. That bad back had never kept him from golfing. I didn't say anything. That's what I did, I didn't say things. I showed up. I climbed the porch steps, careful not to step hard on the third one. It creaked. Then I heard it. Diane won't say no, my father said. His voice was even like he was talking about the weather. She never does. She gave Todd that 20 grand like it was nothing. She'll cover it, my mom replied. She always does. We'll tell her it's for the roof. I stopped. My hand hovered over the screen door. The ziti started to tilt in my arms. Inside, the conversation continued bouncing off the tile and wood like it had every right to. 30,000 at first, Mom continued. Say it's the roof and some medical bills. Then we can move to Todd's stuff. Spread it out. Todd's voice jumped in. We don't have time to stretch it too far. The IRS already sent the first letter. The lawyer says if we repay it fast, we can dodge criminal charges. I don't like lying to her, Mom murmured. It's not lying, Todd snapped. It's family. She's got no husband, no kids. What's she even doing with that money? Buying throw pillows. I wanted to scream. I wanted to kick open that door and throw the ziti at them like a live grenade. But I didn't. I backed away step by step like a burglar escaping her own life. In the car, I sat with the engine off, the food cooling on my lap like some cruel joke. My phone buzzed. Mom, where are you, sweetie? Dinner's ready. I stared at it for a long time. Then typed emergency at work. Audit issue. Can't make it. Rain check. 3 dots blinked. Then, oh no. We needed to talk tonight. The roof's been leaking. I stared ahead through the windshield, the trees melting into shadow. The words weren't new. The roof, the car, the copay, the business loan. There was always something. I left it on the seat and went upstairs alone. I didn't turn the lights on right away. I stood at the window watching the lights fly across the parking lot. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the tone in their voices, Todd's laugh. These were a bit like I was the only one still pretending. I thought of the Christmas and I handed over a check without a word. I thought of every birthday cake I'd brought, every emergency I'd covered, every quiet yes that felt like love, but had been another payment, and I saw it. All of it. The next morning, I didn't make coffee. I made a plan. I started with my bank accounts, every one of them checking savings brokerage, even that dusty old 401k from my first job at Branson Mutual. I moved. New banks. Ones my parents didn't know, couldn't guess. I opened them under my full legal name with multi-step verification and security questions that had nothing to do with pets or schools. Then I went through every shared account I'd ever had with my parents. I had once added my mom as a secondary contact for emergencies, back when I thought emergency meant health scares or car accidents, not coordinated financial ambushes. I revoked all access. I froze old credit lines, changed every password, every PIN, updated security settings until the system warned me that even I might forget them. It wasn't paranoia, it was preservation. My phone buzzed like it was on fire. Missed calls from Mom, Dad, and Todd. Texts started pouring in. "Where are you, Diane? We need to talk. Don't overreact." But I didn't open a single one. Instead, I sent one email. Subject personal. Urgent. To Susan Ellison, my boss, head of strategy. The kind of woman who once led a merger meeting with a broken ankle and no painkillers. She replied in 6 minutes. Her door was already open when I arrived. She gestured to the seat in front of her desk, the expression on her face a careful blank. I didn't waste time. I overheard something I began. At my parents', I need advice. Not legal, just personal. But it might affect work. She didn't blink. Go on. So I told her everything. The lasagna, the voices behind the door, the numbers, the years of quiet giving, the betrayal. The way they planned it was like a heist, except the vault was me. I told her I'd already taken steps to shut them out, but I needed to do more. That I didn't feel safe, not physically, but emotionally, financially, like they'd crawl through my inbox if they could. Susan sat silently, arms crossed. Her expression changed gradually from curiosity to disbelief to something harder. Rage, maybe, or recognition. When I finished, she leaned forward, her voice measured. First, she said, "You're handling this better than most. Second, you need a lawyer. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they're going to twist this if they can. And third," she glanced at the open laptop on her desk, then back at me. "We've got an opening in the Seattle office. It's lateral, but with a bump in pay and a lot more distance. If you're thinking of starting over, this could be your chance." I blinked. "Seattle, you'd have support," she added. "We'll handle relocation. You wouldn't have to tell them where you're going." Fresh start. I nodded slowly. A fresh start. The phrase sat heavy in my chest. That night, I opened a spreadsheet. Name vertical bar. Date vertical bar. Amount vertical bar. Reason vertical bar. Notes Greg, 2018. $20,000. Business startup. Never repaid. Helen, 2020. $12,000. Medical bills. No follow-up records. Family vacation. 2021. $3,600. They couldn't afford it. Paid for all airfare Christmas. 2022. $1,900. Gifts plus groceries. Covered for everyone. The list went on. 5 years of money. No receipts, no promises, just giving. It totaled nearly $190,000. That night, I got one call I did answer, though I still don't know why. "Todd." "Diane," he said, breathless. "We need to talk. As a family." "I'm working," I said flatly. "We're in trouble." "The audit's serious. So's betrayal." He paused. "You were listening. I was holding a dish full of pasta." "Yeah, I heard everything. It's not what you think he tried. It's exactly what I think I said. I'm your brother. I didn't mean to hurt you. Number, you just didn't think of me at all." He started saying something else, but I hung up before I had to hear it. The next day, the security guard at the front desk waved me down. "Miss Caldwell, someone's here. Says she's your mother." I looked across the lobby. Helen. No makeup. Her cardigan hung unevenly off one shoulder. She looked older than I remembered, like the truth had added years. "Diane," she said, Please? I didn't move. What do you want, Mom? She glanced around. Not here. Please, can we talk somewhere private number? Right here is fine. She winced but kept going. It was Todd's idea. He said he could fix everything if we just helped. We didn't mean to trick you. We were just desperate, I offered. Or just greedy. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said, stepping back. I'm just finally not helping. She started to cry. For real this time. But I didn't hand her a tissue. I didn't open my wallet. I walked past her through the brass doors and didn't look back. The texts slowed after that. The voicemails got shorter, more desperate. By Wednesday, they'd stopped altogether. And then Friday came. It was late afternoon. I was wrapping up a proposal when Megan from the front desk buzzed me. Diane, she said carefully, someone from legal is here for you. A process server. Says he has documents. My stomach sank like it had snapped its moorings. Send him up, I said. He arrived minutes later, khakis clipboard, no eye contact, just a stiff nod and a manila envelope with my name scribbled in black ink. Inside a formal complaint, filed by Helen and Ray Caldwell. They were suing me. Claims that the funds I had gifted over the years were in fact verbal loan agreements, that I was now demanding repayment, causing them severe emotional distress, that my refusal to engage had led to financial hardship and mental instability. It would have been funny if it hadn't been so disgusting. I laughed, but it came out hollow. They weren't just trying to guilt me now. They were trying to punish me for walking away, for seeing through it, for saying no. I called the lawyer Susan had recommended, Carol Kim, no nonsense, fast-talking, sounded like she ran on caffeine and justice. I forwarded her the scanned complaint. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. They don't have a case, Carol said bluntly. No contracts, no documentation, nothing to back it up. This is harassment, plain and simple. Can we counter, I asked. We can counter, she said. Defamation, emotional damages, retaliation. We can bury them. I didn't answer right away. The idea didn't sit right. Not because I didn't want justice, but because I wanted distance. Peace. I wanted to be done. No counters, I said quietly. I don't want their money. I just want them gone. There was a pause on the line. Then Carol's voice softened. Understood. That weekend I started packing. Not for Seattle. Not just yet. For goodbye. I boxed up cookbooks with my mom's handwriting in the margins, framed photos of holidays where I was always the one behind the camera. I wrapped them carefully, and then left most of them behind. Some things weren't memories anymore. They were evidence of how hard I had tried, and how little it had mattered. On Sunday morning, the phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. It was Todd. You're going to let me go to prison, he said, like it was some great moral test I was failing. I'm not letting you do anything, I said calmly. You're going to prison because you committed fraud. His voice cracked. I could lose everything. I already did, I said. My family, my trust, my belief that you cared about me, not what I could give. Silence. Heavy. Long. I was scared, he said. I didn't know what else to do. You planned it, I snapped. You coached them on how to lie to me. You called me naive. You laughed. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't think about me at all. Then softer, more desperate Diane. Please. I repeated what I'd said before. Quietly. Clearly. Then beg someone else. And I hung up. Blocked the number. No more texts came, no more calls. Monday morning, I stood in the middle of my apartment, surrounded by half-filled boxes and quiet. I looked around at a life I'd built from nothing. A life I thought had been connected by love, but had been strung together with obligation and performance. I didn't cry. I didn't curse. I just zipped up my last suitcase. Seattle could wait. First, I needed one last act of closure. I went into the kitchen and pulled out the old glass baking dish, the one I'd carried every Sunday. Still clean, still unbroken, still pretending everything was fine. I ran my hand along its edge. Then I dropped it into the trash. Not because it was broken, but because I was finally done trying to fix things that were never whole to begin with. Tuesday arrived on time, just like the movers. They were early two guys named Darren and Julio, polite and efficient. I gave them coffee and pointed out what was coming and what was staying. The rest I had already labeled to Seattle. Everything was moving forward. Except one part of me still lingered like a breath caught in my chest. That afternoon, as I was finishing the last of the handoff documents for work, Susan knocked once and stepped into my office. "You sure about this?" she asked, arms crossed over the edge of the doorway. "No," I admitted. "But I'm going." She nodded once. "Then we've got your back." I smiled. She was one of the few people in my life who'd never asked for more than I gave freely. That was rare. That was worth something. Just after 5, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I should have let it ring. But some part of me still needed the closure. It was my mother, Diane. Her voice was soft, worn. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come to your office. I shouldn't have sued you." "That's a pretty significant thing to regret," I said dryly. "We dropped the complaint," she said. "Yesterday." Our attorney filed the dismissal. Silence stretched between us. "I didn't want to hate you," she whispered. "I just didn't know what to do when Todd was sinking. You made me the life raft. I didn't know we were drowning you too." "You did," I said, my voice steady. "You just didn't care." "I'm sorry." There it was. Words I thought I wanted, but all they did was echo. "Okay," I said, and nothing else. We hung up. I didn't save the number. Later that week, the final message came through my lawyer. Todd had taken a plea deal, 18 months in federal prison. Charges included tax evasion, wire fraud, and concealment of assets. My parents had sold their house to help with his legal defense. Most of the money disappeared into fines and penalties. They were now living with my Aunt Rhonda in Pensacola. Carol texted, "It's done. You're in the clear. Let me know if anything changes." I didn't reply. Not because I didn't appreciate it, but because I finally didn't have anything else to say. The silence I had once feared now felt like fresh air. I left Charlotte on a Thursday morning, quietly. No goodbye party, no farewell drinks, no final dinner with the people who once claimed me. The flight was calm. I stared out the window most of the time, not looking at the clouds but letting the movement carry me forward. I didn't even cry when we landed. Seattle greeted me with mist and gray light. I stepped off the plane into air that felt heavier, but somehow easier to breathe. The firm's relocation team had arranged everything. The apartment was in Capitol Hill, top floor, 2 bedrooms, exposed brick with soft northern light that wrapped around the furniture like fog. No one here knew me as the daughter who always paid, the sister who showed up with a casserole and a blank check. I was just Diane Caldwell, senior analyst, new hire. For the first time in years, I was only me. The only message that came through that first weekend was from an old neighbor back in Charlotte. "Just saw your U-Haul. Everything okay?" I typed and deleted a dozen replies before settling on one. "Yeah, I'm finally okay." And I was. But even in peace, memory lingers. On Sunday morning, I woke up early. Out of habit. The sun hadn't quite made it through the cloud cover, and the city outside was quiet. I walked into the kitchen. My cabinets were mostly bare, still unpacked, but I found enough to make a small lasagna. Just for me. I didn't make it for them. Not for love. Not for approval. Not to be thanked. I made it for the girl. I used to be the one who used to think warmth and love were the same thing. That girl was gone. But I wanted to honor her one last time. Sunday evening, the lasagna sat cooling on the counter. I poured myself a glass of wine, and set the table just one plate, one fork, one napkin. For the first time in years, dinner wasn't an obligation. It was a choice, a ritual, a reclaiming. I lit a candle not because anyone was watching, but because I was, and that mattered now. As I sat there in my new apartment, soft city noise filtering through the windows, I thought back on all the Sundays before. Every casserole dish was carried with hope. Every driveway I parked on always second. Every time I handed over money, thinking it was the cost of closeness, of love. How many times had I tried to buy peace? How many times had I confused being needed with being loved? I didn't cry, but I felt it all, like a slow tide pulling away from shore, leaving behind everything it had once carried. The next morning, I unpacked the last of my boxes. Cookbooks, some, with my mother's notes, still in the margins. A few old photos. The kind where we're smiling, but I know now what is hidden beneath it. I didn't throw them away. I just didn't frame them either. Some stories don't deserve to be displayed. Some truths are only useful when you know where not to step again. A week later, I took a walk along the water. The clouds were low and silver, and the breeze carried the promise of rain. A small park hugged the shoreline near my apartment, and I sat on a bench and just watched people walking dogs, kids laughing, strangers not asking anything from me, but space. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with applause or arrival. It's just quiet, steady, like breath. That's what I'd found in Seattle. Not just a new job or a different skyline, but a version of myself that didn't bleed to feel needed. A woman who finally knew that showing up for others means nothing if you disappear from yourself. Months passed. And when the final legal email came, confirmation that my name was clear, that no further contact had been attempted, I read it once, then archived it. I didn't print it. I didn't frame it. I didn't need proof to know I was free. Sunday mornings became sacred. I made coffee. Sometimes lasagna, sometimes nothing. Sometimes I just sat by the window in my robe with a book I'd already read, rereading the same sentences and smiling like they were old friends. One morning, I got a text from an old college friend. Just checking in. She hadn't heard from me in months. We chatted for a while, easy and light. She asked if I was seeing anyone. I laughed and said, "Number. But I'm seeing myself a whole lot clearer these days." She sent a heart emoji, then added, "You sound happy." And I was. Not wildly, not euphorically, but deeply. In the way that comes when your soul finally sits down in a room that's just yours. Not rented, not borrowed, not dependent on anyone's approval. And I realized then I hadn't escaped my family. I had reclaimed my life. Not out of revenge, not out of spite, but out of the quiet understanding that some people only love you for what you can give. And when the giving stops, so does the illusion. If you've ever stood outside a door with something warm in your hands and hope in your chest only to hear your name twisted into strategy, then you know you don't owe anyone an apology for saving yourself. You don't have to explain the silence, the distance, the absence at birthdays and holidays. You are not cruel for choosing peace. You are not selfish for wanting safety. You are allowed to stop showing up for people who only open the door when they smell dinner. That night, I finished the last bite of lasagna and washed the dish. It was clean. It was mine. And so was everything that came next. Diane Caldwell was always the dependable one. For over a decade, she never missed a Sunday dinner, never hesitated to help her family. She handed over tens of thousands of dollars to support her brother Todd's failed ventures, her parents' medical needs, and their every crisis, real or exaggerated, believing that love was sacrifice. But one evening, she overheard a conversation that shattered that illusion. Her family had been scheming to extract even more from her, with Todd facing prison and everyone planning to make her pay the price. With clarity replacing blind loyalty, Diane took swift action. She moved her finances, shut off access, and sought legal guidance. Her parents and brother responded not with remorse but with a lawsuit. The betrayal cut deep, but Diane chose not to retaliate. Instead, she chose freedom. A job transfer took her across the country to Seattle, where she began rebuilding a life not defined by obligation, but by self-respect. Through the pain, she discovered something rare and beautiful: peace. It didn't come with loud victories or dramatic confrontations. It came with small choices: dinner alone, a new apartment, a silent morning by the river. She found strength not in what she gave others, but in what she finally gave herself permission to stop. In the end, Diane didn't seek revenge. She sought herself, and she found her.